Hi, my name is Christy Ingram, and I'm going to be discussing the results of the MCHAT screening survey for ASD. For the survey, I used the father of the child. His name is Austin, and his son is John, and John will be 4 at the end of the year. So the scores that I'm going to go over are based on his son John and how Austin filled out the screening survey MCHAT sheet. John scored in the low risk range. His dad provided the answers on the sheet and with some notes and stuff like that he made that we discussed. And John scored yes on all questions except for question 2, 5, and 12. His father was undecided on the answers for question 12 and 20. So using the flow chart for these two questions, I was able to provide guidance for the correct answers based on the notes and directions of the flow chart and the conversations that I had with Austin. Austin was open to doing the initial screening and discussing the answers. He was very open with information on his son. As I explained, the screening and the results were not definite, but rather a guide to see if there was any risk for ASD. There was a lot of things that I liked about the survey, but what I did learn is answers are not always black and white. When I asked Austin a couple questions and he had questions on some, we had to kind of look at it and say, okay, well, yeah, he's scared of the vacuum cleaner, he's scared of maybe this or that, but, was it related to more than just the sound or anything like that? For example, one of the questions was, does he like movement? Well, his son doesn't really like to have his feet off the ground, but he will get on his leg and ride it like a pony and stuff like that. But he doesn't really want to climb high on anything, and that's really more just because he has a fear of heights. And Austin has a fear of heights too, so it wasn't necessarily related to being afraid of, in certain areas. He likes to move and be about and stuff like that, but he just doesn't really like to have his feet that far off the ground. So again, it made the answers and the questions kind of hard when he was initially answering the question, but based on some of the stuff we found on the flow chart for that question, we were able to navigate through, and he was able to pick a final answer based on that, using that as a guidance. For improving the screening, myself, I will be better prepared for questions parents don't know the answer to, and how and what to answer the questions, or provide guidance to them. Some of the questions, like I said, we refer back to the guidance and we're kind of following the flow chart. And if I were doing this again, I would make sure I kind of know the basics on each flow chart page and have a better understanding, so that when they start asking questions, I can go, provide a little more guidance while we're getting to the flow chart and stuff like that, without having to kind of read and follow along and figure it out with them. So that I would definitely approve on. I want to be more knowledgeable on the questions with a flow chart, basically. I think the questions in the flow chart were good and pretty easy to understand. The materials were easy to understand and follow. The flow charts, for the most part, were easy to understand and follow. A couple of them, when we looked at them, we would start it there, and then we would follow to the flow chart, and then it would, be like, oh, okay, well, you're supposed to just select yes here and then stop. So, but for the most part, once again, if they were looked at thoroughly beforehand, I would know that. My only problem was basically on question 20, which I touched on a minute ago. Even looking at the flow chart, this answer was not clear for Austin this question was not clear for Austin to provide an answer with. And considering all information provided together, the parent and I discussed the questions and answers, and Austin provided an answer. In the question about movement, John basically doesn't like being off the ground. He has a fear of heights, and it's not that he doesn't want to climb on things, he just doesn't like it. He can sit on his dad's legs, or he can, on a step stool, or, like on a chair if it's not too high off the ground. But when he starts getting any higher off the ground, then he totally has a fear of that. So, as I mentioned before, both of them have a fear of heights, so we ended up opting with the other answers. I hope this makes it clear. Thank you.